Hello and welcome to the video. It's George from Fantasy Take TV. Today we'll discuss the trade period, but in relation to Supercoach. So I've got about 25 names here. A lot happened in the trade period. I think we're going to have so many value picks in 2023. A lot of players getting new opportunity, a few salary dumps, a few players that, Hawthorne, for example, they just wanted to get rid of their midfielders. They were trying to get rid of Mitchell and O'Meara last year, and I guess they got their wish now. So opens the door for Hawthorn. What does their midfield mix look like? Could we see like a Warple? Could we see Ward and Connor McDonald go in there? GWS have lost Taranto and Hopper, so a ton of CBAs up for grabs. Tom Green should get more CBAs. Does the new coach Kingsley, does he like Perryman in there? Do they give Finn Callahan a go? So that's probably the major changes for the two teams. So that'll be a watch in the pre-season. But we'll go over the list of about 25 or so players here. We'll go through one by one. I think probably the first few are probably the more relevant, more premiums. And as we get to later in the video, a lot of the very, very cheap options. And I actually think we can probably fill out a bench just about of some of these really, really cheap options that have been traded. So we'll speak about that after. But first one, probably the big one for Supercoach, not that it changes much because he's still a lock, is Josh Dunkley to the Dogs. I don't know how to feel about this because I've always wanted him to get more mid-time and he finally got his wish, but he had to leave. So watching the Dogs, it's not going to be the same. Friday night under the roof at Marvel and the Dogs just pinging it around all night. We'll still get that, but not with Dunkley. So he's off to the Lions. He should be a forward still. I don't have his price written down. I think I've got the price written down for every other player, but I don't care what he's priced at. I would guess about 580. We'll pick Josh Dunkley next year. So very excited to see how he goes. But Dunks, Bont, McRae in the one midfield, no more. Very, 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 I don't know what the word is other than sad, but we move on. That's okay. Taranto is the next name I have here. So he'll be priced at 490k. He's off to Richmond. He should retain forward status. If he's mid only, it's probably a no from me, but I did tweet this the other day. In the 6 games in 2021 where he had over, I think, 60% CBAs, so over 60% CBAs, 6 games, he averaged 113 or 111, something like that. And then last year, or in 2022, his CBAs were kind of all over the shop. So I think he didn't get one CBA game. He didn't get one game above 60% CBAs. So more CBAs, more scoring for Taranto. It's pretty much that simple. No, durability hasn't been great, but no soft tissue injuries, but fresh start. I think he'll be... I don't know if he wasn't motivated or something, but yeah, he did struggle with injuries this year. Expect a bit of a bounce back from Taranto. He will be in my starting team, or when Supercoach opens. The next name I have is his new partner, or they were already partners, but at a new club now, is Jacob Hopper, around 330k. I think we'll give the excuse for him this year. Came back from injury, didn't play super well. Last 1 or 2 games started to play a little bit better. Dermot Brereton was speaking about him. He actually likes Hopper better than Taranto. He just thinks he's a bit more skilled on the inside. His kick to handball ratio is actually really good, so kicks a lot. I think it's about 50-50, which is pretty good, so not overly handball happy. Fresh start for him. I think he's from Sydney, I think. So to lose him is pretty bad, but they had salary cap issues. He's a lock for me. Another one. Lock him in the midfield, value pick. I think the game is, since watching how Moreira's Magic has played, I think mid-priced, or the value is just so important, and I think he's really, really... Well, he's done 97 in the past, and he's priced at 60-something, I think. So, based on that, I think for pre-season, easy pick. Now, the next one, Tom Mitchell's gone to Collingwood right at the death, so I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not. About 5 deals done, like right in the last minute, or lodged. Average 96 last year, has done, I think, 130 in the past, did 117 in 2021 with like no preseason. So obviously the CBAs are going to go up, but 2 issues I have with this: he's going to be 30, and he's going to start the season at 30 years of age. No midfielder apart from Pendlebury in 2020, which is Mickey Mouse here, has averaged 110 plus at the age of 30. I still think he can do it, but it's hard to pin him down as the what's he going to average, given he's 30, so should be theoretically past his prime. And Collingwood play low possession game style. We saw De Goey, although De Goey's will be a different role, or is a different role now, but none of those uncontested marks in the back half. So no one really on Collingwood scored super well this year. So Titch should almost walk up, be their highest scorer next year though, but we'll see. And also Dacos, see how he goes, but Titch won't be in my starting team, but I'll keep an eye on him in the preseason. He looked pretty awful this preseason, and overall his year wasn't super great, but Hawthorn deliberately used him away from stoppages. I owned him in fantasy, and I watched, they were lining up for a stoppage around the ground, and Tom Mitchell would start forward of the ball, which is ridiculous, but you get what Sam Mitchell's trying to do. I doubt that happens at Collingwood. He'll be at as many centre bounces as they need him to be, but you never know how McRae kind of works. But yeah, we expect his average will go up, but is it enough to justify him being a top 10 mid? I'm not sure. So something to think about. Jago O'Meara to Fremantle, that's a no. I think it's probably one of the tragedies in footy is how good he was going early on in his career. He was looking to be tracking to be a Hall of Famer just about. I thought, given how good his first year was, one of the best first years you'll see in football. And yeah, his knee, I think he's probably has to manage that throughout the rest of his career. A lot of pretty contested for CBAs, Brayshaw, Brodie, Sarong in there. Plus they probably want to give games to Erasmus and Johnson, so just a no for O'Meara. Now a new Hawk, so O'Meara was traded for Lloyd Meek. Meek is interesting because I think the ruck line it's hard to, we'll see how Grundy and Gawn line up, but you would think they're going to steal points away from each other, and you don't know what the CBA is going to look like week to week. But Meek, is he going to be solo rucking? Are they going to play him with Reeves? Because I think Meek, not the best forward, but I think he's capable. Like, you can rest him forward. I did see that a number of times when he played with Darcy, so I think he can do it. He's okay. But his VFL numbers are quite good. I don't have him in front of me. I think it's 126 average. I think Freako tweeted something like that. So really, really good. Good tap ruckman, decent around the ground. Didn't have his best game against Briggs in the last round. But yeah, not sure. See how he goes in the preseason. But he can score. And Hawthorn's ruck line is they're not Drew. Lynch and Reeves seem to be injured a lot. So I think Meek will be the number one ruck. Do they use two ruckmen? How good is Meek actually at AFL level? I'm not sure, but he scored okay even with Darcy in the team. So that's why he's 425k despite playing just about every game with Darcy. I'm not sure about this one. So I think he's definitely one high on the radar. Will he be in my opening team? Maybe. I'm not too sure. I'm not really sure what's going on with the rucks. It's going to be difficult. Probably a big one here is Jason Horne-Francis, 340k. The trade was big. I don't think the relevance is huge. I think Butters, Rosie, Boak, Wines, maybe Boak CBA's come down, so maybe Horne-Francis will be like the fourth in line for mid-time. But still very young. We'll see how he goes, because clearly he checked out. He can score. He's racked up, I think, 30 in the VFL. One of the VFL games he got. I don't think he played many of those, but he will be mid-forward, 340k. I think he'll outperform that, but just see how he goes. But he's one that could break out, but it's just a matter of when with him. But generally, we saw he's probably in a similar mold to Petrarca and Dangerfield, and they took quite a while. The big explosive mid that's damaging forward of the ball probably needs to work on his tank a little bit. But who knows? Maybe he just because of the year he had, the motivation wasn't there. But we'll see how he goes in the preseason. Probably a no from me at this stage. Darcy Tucker, 230k defender mid. So he averaged 110 I think he averaged 100 in the waffle with an injury game. So I think he bumped that up to about 110, taking out the injury game. He should be defender mid, or at least defender, or maybe mid only. I'm actually not sure. But he'll be 230k. He scored a 178 fantasy in the VFL. So if he can have one spike game at North, he will explode in price. I did listen to Trade Radio they interviewed him and they said, well, where are you expected to play? He thinks his best position is midfield, but he can play down black. He can play down back and he can play on a wing. That's what he said, but he hinted that he wants to play midfield. So do North give him that role? Well, Horne-Francis is gone, so there'll be more room, but we expect Will Phillips to come back in. Tom Powell, I don't know what happened to him. He should play mid. So there's a lot of competition there, but maybe he's a senior body they want in the midfield. They got Simpkin, LDU. So I think he's one where they might give him a bit of mid time, but given his versatility and a lot of North's mids, I guess they're not really. A lot of them are just more inside mids that can kind of play half forward, but not so much play outside. We could see him kind of just be a Mr. Fix-It for North. So I think he will be in my starting team because I think he should play at North. They used like a second rounder on him or something? Third, I can't remember. So they brought him in to play for sure. So we'll see. He'll be in my starting team. If he's defender, I think he definitely will be. If he's midfielder, maybe. Probably still. We'll see what we got available. High ceiling. The next two are Grundy and Jackson. So yeah, basically, we'll start with Brodie Grundy, 500k. I don't know what it will look like with Gawn. Grundy, it seems like he's past his prime. Maybe he comes in with a chip on his shoulder. New system. Jackson averaged 84, Gawn like 113. So both of them can score in the same team, but it's just, is it enough to be a premium? I'm not sure. I think Gawn has always kind of wanted to play with two ruckmen. He pretty much, I think he almost got Grundy over the line from what it sounds like. So Grundy, it's a no from me at this stage. Just the role is just uncertain. And yeah, just not sure how good he is anymore past his prime. So we'll see how he goes. Luke Jackson, 458k. Well, they said that, I can't remember whoever their list manager is, was saying Jackson doesn't have to be used as a ruckman. He can be used potentially even as a midfielder. So I think the wording was they don't want to pigeonhole him into the one role as a ruckman. They already got Sean Darcy there. So I think the role for me is a little uncertain. If Darcy's out for the season, for whatever reason, obviously we don't want that to happen, but if the number one ruck role were to open, I think you'd almost pick him based on what we saw with him solo rucking this year. Just because, as well, what else are we going to do in the ruck? Because I'm not too sure. Just quickly on the rucks, if I had to pick two right now, I really don't want to pick Tim English, but I hate to say it would probably be him. I fully expect to trade him out, but I think the ceiling is too high. It's a bit worrying if he repeats 2022. So not a big fan of English, but I think he'll be one. And then the other one, probably Meek at this stage. Just depends how they line up, but we'll see. The next player I have is actually one player who will probably be in my starting team is Will Setterfield. So Setterfield in 2020, I understand it's 2020, so numbers are a bit inflated, but he averaged, after round 4 to round 17, he averaged 98 playing as an inside mid, and his CBAs were only 53% in that time period. So average 98 with 53% CBAs. He's come to Essendon as the big-bodied mid, and you look at their makeup. So Merritt should spend heaps of time in there. Parrish, of course, will be in there. Cordwell, Hobbs should get more time. They got Shield probably playing there as well. So there's a lot of plays that can go through there. I don't think Setterfield's come over to play wing because he's not a wingman. So even though that's where Carlton used him. So yeah, he'll be priced 320k. He can outperform that for sure. Probably his biggest issue, 62% disposal efficiency in 2020 when he last played mostly inside mid. To put that into perspective, Taranto's average was 69%, and Taranto is probably the pinnacle of poor disposal. So that's really, really poor, 62%. So we'll see how he goes in the preseason. But one where, again, is he actually best 22? Paying for someone that's 320k that we're not sure is best 22, he's going to have to put a hell of a case in the preseason to make a statement that he is. But yeah, one to watch for sure. So I think the rest are basically sub 400k. So Jack Bowes 270k. I did trade him in 2021. He had the Seagull role down back. He sort of lost that role, did a hamstring, played more accountable. The pick busted, so it was a bad pick. Sounds like he's going to play midfield though. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, the year that he played was either 2019 or 2020. He trained in the midfield in the preseason, and for whatever reason it didn't work. They ended up playing him in defence. Then they decided to put him back in the midfield at the start of 2022. So he played defence last year. He was supposed to play midfield again, played there in the VFL, but he had a really bad, I think it was a shoulder injury in the preseason. And that shoulder injury, well, I guess, no preseason, you can kind of write it off, but there isn't enough evidence here for Bowes to say that he's actually a good best 22 player for Geelong. Having said that, I think Chris Scott said that, and I think Dangerfield was the one that I think told Stephen Wells about Bowes in the middle of the season. Bowes hasn't really been given a proper shot at AFL level in the midfield yet, so I want to see it. But also, you have to think about, Geelong, they get the best out of their players, just about every one of them. So, Dangerfield goes from a top 5 player in the league, Brownlow straight away. Stengel goes from decent fringe-ish player to All-Australian. And you can make the case for so many other players for Geelong as well. So, Tom Stewart, VFL player, All-Australians, what is it, 3 or 4 now. So, just heaps of examples of that. Even Jeremy Cameron, probably career best year this year. So Geelong do get the best out of their players. 270k, I don't know if it will be mid or forward. Sorry, not mid or forward, mid or defence, I don't know. If it's defence, because I think a lot of the defenders like Sicily, Sinclair, Dawson, they're going to be so expensive. So a lot of them would like to upgrade to ideally. Although I think I'm pretty keen on Dawson as a starting pick. But nonetheless, if we can fill out those positions with cheaper options, that would be good as we wait for the Sinclairs and the Sicilies to come down. The next player I have is Lachie Hunter. So interestingly, his last 5 years, from 5 years, 2017, 2018, so it's 102, 95, 115 in the COVID year, 88 in 2021, and then 71 in 2022. So he can do 100, even playing on a wing. I don't know, wing is a little bit iffy as of a role for Supercoach, because I haven't played footy since primary school, so I probably need help on this sort of analysis or this sort of stuff at AFL level. But from watching, one wingman hangs on the fat side and guards a lot of the space, the opposite side to where the ball is, and the other wingman will push up and help out around stoppage. So I think Hunter was the latter. He can accumulate the ball, and this year I think mentally he seems pretty shot. Maybe I think he's had some off-field stuff, and then I think possibly some injuries as well. Had some mental health stuff. I think I expect a bounce back at Melbourne. Melbourne, they didn't have the best finish to the year. I think a lot of their players were injured as well, but also they had some other issues as well, like forward line, and just team wasn't gelling super well. But Melbourne are still a really, really strong club. Expect them to bounce back, and I expect them to get Hunter to bounce back as well. 390k, mid only. Also played a bit of half, I can't remember if it was this year, but he's played a bit of half forward as well. In the year he averaged 88 in 2021. Could he be a forward? I don't know. I don't know. I assume he'll be mid only because he didn't get forward status this year. So we'll see how he goes. Although I haven't actually double checked that, but I think Hunter's probably a bit too much on the expensive side. I wonder if they could use him inside. Just curious, but they probably see him as a wingman. So now it's pretty much all rookies. 2 more actually. Ben Long, 325k. So interestingly, in his final game for St Kilda, he played in defence. He took 17 marks and scored 142. And looking at the stats, he only had 1 game for the entire season above 2 rebounds, and that was the final game against Gold Coast, where he had 8 rebounds and scored 142. So he's at Gold Coast now, 325k. Do they use him in a halfback role? I assume they do. and he'll probably be a forward, but I think we have a lot of good value forward options. So I guess we'll see if he gets kick-ins and stuff like that and how much he's used in the preseason. But again, halfbacks can, outside-ish players or uncontested players, well, being a halfback, he'll get a lot of uncontested ball, can be sort of traps in preseason because the game is more, contested possession numbers are down. We've seen that in the past where it's hard to get a gauge on how these sort of players will go. So there's no strong evidence of him scoring week to week consistently at halfback, but he's probably going to get the role, and we'll see how he goes. But probably be a bit expensive for my liking. The next one, Jaden Hunt, 250k, should play halfback for West Coast. Probably kicks Witherden out the team, although he's been in and out the team all year anyway. No real evidence of a huge amount of scoring or high ceiling from Jaden Hunt. I think he averaged 70 plus 1 year, but other than that, he's played a bit forward. The role's changed a bit, but should get a nice role. But can he actually score in it? There's not a whole lot to suggest he will. So I guess a watch at 250k, but most likely a no. Moving on, Cooper Stevens has gone to Hawthorn. He should be 190k and averaged 88 in the VFL, which isn't super high, but he's only 190k. So, and of course, Hawthorn have 2 open slots in the midfield now, so it'll be interesting. And he's probably one of the older ones. He'll be 4th year, so a lot of like Warden, Connor McDonald, Newcomb's I think 2nd year. So he'll be one of the older ones, although he'll probably be the least experienced at AFL level. So see if they actually give him games or not. It'll be interesting. Horne-Francis, 187k, averaged 59 in the VFL, but he might get a nice role down back as like a 3rd tall or something. Is he best 22? I'm not sure. Maybe Sydney sees something in him. But yeah, job security issues. Does he actually even score? Does he get a nice role? Does he have to play lockdown? I'm not too sure. But I think Matthew Lloyd was saying on the radio, like when he's able to just be free and run and jump at the ball all day, I think that's why he went at such a high pick. But we'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, pretty cheap, 187k. So it could be some scoring potential there. Just depends on role and how he goes. Maybe he seems like someone that really needs a fresh start. Josh Corbett will be between 145k and base priced. And when I say base price, I mean 123k for a rookie that's not taken in the draft. So he can play defence, he can play up forward. We'll see how he goes at Fremantle. But he's played some decent football. He's really strong contested mark, and he's got a really big tank. I actually remember I had him as a rookie many years ago, and he was okay. It wasn't great. Made a little bit of money on the bench, but I think he's developed a bit more since then, and I don't mind him. I think he's okay. Could play a role for Fremantle. Turner Bruin, I don't have his price here for some reason, but he's probably a no. Excuse me. Being at Geelong, you just have no idea what sort of role he's going to play. Are they going to develop him in the VFL? Geelong are not afraid to play, players in the VFL end on end. So, they held on to Radigalia, and they're just probably going to play him in the VFL all year again. So we'll see how that goes. But Bruin, he did have one good game, scored a 120 this year. But see how he develops. But tough team to break, the Geelong team. And then the last two I have here, hopefully I haven't missed anyone, are Tom Berry and Toby Bedford. Both will be 123k. So Tom Berry has gone to Gold Coast, and Toby Bedford has gone to GWS. So Tom Berry, 91 average in the VFL. I think that's pretty good. And Bedford, assuming played forward, 80 average in the VFL. So I think both Bedford at GWS replacing Bobby Hill, and Tom Berry at Gold Coast replacing Rankin. So there's a spot there for them. But, are they going to hold that spot? Are they going to score? Okay, I think that they're bench rookies at best, I think. So, look, when Supercoach opens, I guess you can chuck those two on your forward bench. But not much point thinking about rookies too much until not NAB, what's it called? JLT, Marsh, whatever it's called now. So that's the list. I think probably the one I'm most interested in is probably if Setterfield gets a really good role. Very interested. I think Bose as well. It sounds like they kind of have faith in him, but need to see something from him. Meek is an interesting one just because of the rucks, and then I think Taranto and Dunks pretty much. Dunks is probably 99% lock. Taranto is probably 80% lock, I think, and Hopper as well. And then the Titch, Tom Mitchell, yeah, I have no idea, but Titch won't be in my starting team. But that will be an interesting one to keep tabs on. So let me know what you're thinking for Supercoach 2023. I know it's a long way away, but this will probably be the last video until maybe November, December or something, maybe to the draft, which is November 25. So I have a good 6 to 8 weeks off for doing videos. But yeah, keen to get stuck into next year. Already thinking about it. Might even do like a November team just before the team picker opens. Just write one out on an Excel spreadsheet. Well, I already have one, but maybe now update it now that trade period's done and share that. But otherwise, I think everyone wants a spell from fantasy and Supercoach and even AFL. I think the players are all on holidays now. Preseason hasn't even started for them, so so it should be good. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.